Robert J. Conley here. We're on YouTube and Instagram, and please hit subscribe and like. That'll help. Wasn't that enthusiastic? All right. So last video, I talked about intuitive interacting with sensors and just existing in a predominantly non-intuitive world. And today, I'm going to touch on a few of the fun things intuitive to intuitive. If you recall, I use always different words, but basically, we in the parlance of the Myers-Briggs typology model, we say that there are intuitive feelers and intuitive thinkers. And another term for the intuitive thinkers is rationals, and another term for the intuitive feelers is idealists. And so one of my favorite authors on this topic is David Keirsey, and one of his hypotheses is that intuitives get along more naturally, for lack of a better way of putting it, with other intuitives. There's a similar affinity for the abstract world. And then sensors connect in a more grounded way, more objective, more concrete way of experiencing the world. And so given that, even though there is this intuitive to intuitive proclivity is the right word. I may have just shown my lack of vocabulary. At any rate, there's a this way of connecting that intuitives feel connected to each other, and two extroverted dominant intuitives getting together is like 17 cups of coffee for each of them. It's just a super zippity doo dah ride. So what I want to do, though, is compare and contrast the thinker intuitives and the feeler intuitives. So the first thing is that we would say that in like making decisions, that and I'll call them. I'm sorry, I apologize for bouncing all over the place here, but I'll call the NT, the intuitive thinkers, I'll call them rationals, and I'll call the intuitive feelers idealists, just so we have one word. So the realists will experience or look for what's pragmatic, what's practical, what can we do, what is a solution that fits in the algorithm. And the idealist will tend more towards just pure altruism, what's helpful. And so one of the examples I like to give is that when you come across a homeless person. Now, a rational is going to be much more likely to be labeled cold or indifferent to that homeless person, because the natural warmth and concern for humanity on a very one-on-one human level that idealists have more of than rationals have will come across. But what isn't seen is that the rational will actually have probably as much concern for that. I mean, given a good person, one who is of sound character, will have a concern for that person too, but it will come more from a systems orientation. How did this person get here? What can we change that helps this person not need a sandwich from me right now, not need money from me right now? So the idealist will gladly, in fact, I know idealists who go around town with extra sandwiches, extra bottles of water, even extra socks to give to homeless who they'll see. And so there is this just innate altruism that we see in the idealists, and we see this innate pragmatism in rationals. And when the two work together to solve problems, you can see those immediately. Those can be very complementary checks and balances on each other to solve problems. So there's one. All right. Next one is the difference in just the way of being. And so rationals, when they're at their best and in their zone, are calm. They'll come across very calmly. And I'm a member of this tribe, and where some weird places that I really experience this, when I go to a concert and I'm absolutely having the time of my life, anyone looking at me would think I was in a coma. I just get so calm and so still, and I'm just so taking everything in. And then if I were sitting next to the idealist, you would see enthusiasm. You would see just this being, this bubbling that comes out. And so, kind of the cliche of the calm, reserved. I mean, reserve may not apply to me, but calm. Uh, the calm engineer, scientist, and the bubbly, enthusiastic idealist, again teaming up. And so that calm being of problem solving, of that builds on the calm being builds on the pragmatism and the problem solving, and the enthusiasm and remember, that's about enthusiasm is from within. It's the human spirit. It's coming out, and that enthusiasm then adds to what the rational has created, and can make for, again, a more powerful way of coming up with new things, new solutions, innovation, invention. The next thing, and these are all closely related, but tied to this too, is that the intuitive thinker, the rational, will be more prone to skepticism, skeptical of everything. And when you think about the number one rule of the scientific method is skepticism, 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 skepticism. Always be questioning. Nothing's ever settled. I know that's not politically correct right now because people are trying to claim that certain things are settled science. I got news for you. They're not. And history proves over and over again they never are. And so the role of the rational is to be skeptical, to always be skeptical, always be questioning. And the role of the idealist is to take those things, even if it turns out they're not, over time they're proven to be not accurate, not true. But the credulity, the idealist brings an innate credulity, a belief, and so an enthusiasm. And so, you'll see a lot of idealists are into alternative medicine, are into the power of crystals, are into all sorts of those types of energy things. And, really, really, really extra, we'll say rational or completely logical cyborg Spock-like people, scoff at that. Some of us that are I don't know if it's open-mindedness, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not convinced any of it's true, and I'm far from convinced that any of it's false, because I've seen good things come from those kinds of things. So I'm just sharing that credulism, not in a naive way, but in a productive way in which there's a belief, and there's this desire to cause healing and to try things and to believe in things that comes from that idealist, from that intuitive feeler personality type. Whereas the rational, the intuitive thinker, probably wants to go back into the lab or look at more statistical studies and verify whether or not what is being said, or verify that the data can remove some of his or her skepticism. So the final little piece, and all of this is just I don't feel like any one of these is a big difference, but they're all kind of additive. And so the rational, when pressed, when has to make a decision, when push comes to shove, the rational will turn to reason, or what they think is reason, what they think is logic. Does the math work? And then in decision making, the NF, the intuitive feeler, we call them the idealist because they will likely make decisions based on their ideals, on their values, on their feeling. And so feelings are not some illusory thing. When we talk about feelings, we're talking about deep-seated values, ideals, and whether or not what it is that must be decided fits within those or not. And so that's how they make those decisions. So I hope this helps a little bit. If you're an intuitive with intuitives in your lives, and there's some things where you've wondered, like, wow, I know we're both intuitive, we can see these things, but man, it sure is different sometimes between the two of us and how we want to solve problems or how we see ourselves or how we see others. And so, there I lump intuitives together, versus sensors, but there are as many different ways to be an intuitive as there are to be a sensor. I hope this helps. That's what I've got. I'm Robert J. Conley, and I will see you next time. Take care.